Hello everyone, my name is Christian, welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing part 2 of the Zatoichi watch through, movies 2 through 5. And again we have Undead Nightmare with us today. Leon, welcome back.
Thank you, Christian. Thanks for having me again. This has been a fun time for me, and I can't wait to get to the future films here. So, very excited myself here.
What's really nice about this series is I don't remember anything. Because I watched 3 or 4 movies a day for like a week 3 years ago, and I don't remember any of these. So it's like watching them again for the first time. But aside from one movie, they were all really good, in my opinion.
I have to 100% agree with you on that. And like you said, you're watching it for the first time. This is my first time, so it's going to be the same.
Yeah, but first I wanted to answer a question you asked me about the connections with this series and Blind Fury.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't know 100% and I was just kind of curious about it. But I have the details. I have behind the scenes insights. Not really. I looked it up on IMDb and it told me all this. But Blind Fury was 1989. Rutger Hauer. That's all I know about it. I haven't seen it. I should. It's actually a remake of Zatoichi 17, which is called Zatoichi Challenged. You'll notice that all the titles for the Zatoichi movies can go anywhere, really, aside from like Versus Yoshimbo and the One-Armed Swordsman. But uh, the producer, I believe, or the director, somebody was like, "Oh, I love Zatoichi. Let's make a remake, but with like an American like lens." And so there's a credit at the end of the movie, I believe. I haven't seen it, where it says inspired by a screenplay written by Ryoso Kasahara, but doesn't mention the movie. So it's like
Wow.
nobody will ever look that up and find out that it's like actually a remake. But it is a remake of Zatoichi Challenged, movie 17, which will be in a while. But yeah, it's basically an uncredited remake that nobody knows about.
And that's pretty crazy because I didn't know it was even had any familiarity. I cannot talk. Anything close to those films, you know what I mean? And I could definitely see the inspiration through it, from the weapons to kind of his stances throughout the movie. I have seen the movie, but it has been years, so
I don't even know
I,
if there's
I
a
kind of
Blu-ray
forgot
release
it.
of it. It's probably all caught up in rights right now because people found out because the internet exists. Didn't exist in 1989 when it came out, so it was a lot easier to get away with stuff of like just
Yeah,
copying movies.
and
But
there is a Blu-ray release.
oh, is it?
Yeah, it's like with a retro slipcover.
Ooh, what company?
I'm thinking Mill Creek. I'm I'm not 100% sure on that, but I am thinking it's Mill Creek.
It seems like a Mill Creek release. If you ever go on the
Yeah.
website, but I figured out the missing title. It's the next movie, number 3. But um, number 2 is basically just part 2 of the first movie. I realize now it could have been a double feature episode because it starts right from the beginning of the end of the
Yeah.
movie. And really, the only difference is that the villain is different. Kind of. No, it's not, because the two gangs are still in charge. But we have a new villain, which is introduced immediately. And I was hinting at this on who he was, but I wouldn't tell you. And you figured it out. Who is it?
It's another. No, I cannot speak today, guys. It's another. I cannot speak. It's from Lone Wolf and Cub, the films. Okay, excuse me, guys. I am having a hard time talking here, but it's the star from Lone Wolf and Cub, and I'm not going to attempt to say his real name, but it is his name in the film is Yushiro. Yushiro.
I don't even know if I wrote down his name. I just
I
call
wrote his
him
name
Lone
down,
Wolf. But
but I'm getting my words caught. Apologize for that.
yeah. So what's hilarious about this is that the Lone Wolf and Cub movies are the '70s, I believe, and this is obviously early '60s. This movie specifically is 1962, 50 or 60 years old almost. And so, this is way before the popularization of like crazy Japanese bloody movies, because Lone Wolf and Cub, someone gets sliced and it's like a hose. But how he got involved is that he's actually the older brother of the guy who played Zatoichi.
Oh wow, I never knew that. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so funny to me, because I just thought he was like, "Hey, older brother, come on, like, come join my movie." But it ends up that that's like a fundamental part of the movie. It's this older brother, younger brother dynamic. So as I was watching the movie, knowing that he's actually his older brother, I was like, "This is so weird."
And he has the look of an older brother, just his character. He
Yeah,
does look.
and it gets revealed like right at the end. It's like, "Oh, you killed my older brother," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, I didn't know that was a relationship, because they're like constantly fighting each other and like avoiding each other the whole movie. But the actor's name, by the way, is Tomisaburo
Yeah,
Wakayama. I think I said that right.
there you go.
Tomisaburo Wakayama. That sounds about right.
I'm not
So
even I'm not even attempting it.
there's 5 syllables on the first name alone, so don't worry. But another notable cast member is Eijiro Yanagi, who is, I think, the lead. And one of my favorite, like, weird movies of, like, the samurai genre is An Actor's Revenge. I don't know if you've seen that. It's weird. It's like an assassin movie.
I haven't seen that. I
It's
need to
on,
check that out actually.
it's on Criterion. The sale's still going. But he's also in a Kurosawa film, which I haven't seen yet. It's called The Idiot. It's an early film. I think I actually own it on the Eclipse. I do. Okay, so Criterion has a line of like box sets on DVD where they don't want to spend money doing the Blu-rays, so they package a bunch of DVDs together. It's called the Eclipse series. They have one called the Post-War Kurosawa, which takes place after like his first 4 movies, and there's 5 movies, and The Idiot is in that. So I'm gonna have to go watch that now and see if I can spot this guy. But yeah, this is the shortest Zatoichi film, I think. It's 1 hour and 12 minutes. I remember texting you and I was like, holy shit, I do not remember it being this short.
Yeah, they're not very long, and I remember you saying about that, and I noticed that in the fifth film, I caught up pretty quick for being back on that one. Behind, actually.
Yeah, because it's like a separate movie, but the title, The Tale of Zatoichi, continues. Like, infers that it's a continuation of the first movie, which it is. But it's like such a cut off from the last movie into this one. It starts with Zatoichi on a boat. He's just like sleeping, and everyone gets thrown out. And there's like a bunch of like assholes like kicking like women and children out, and people on the way to work, like all this stuff. And Zatoichi just does not realize this is happening, and like doesn't wake up until he's like in the middle of the water, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yeah, and then he slices him up lightning fast, man, on that boat. He takes him out. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I didn't even see that.
He took his sword and then sliced. It wasn't even his own sword. He just took a guy's and just sliced him. Like, that's what I love about these movies, especially now that we've seen 2 through 5, is that we see like how the intro is always like set up for the rest of the movie. Is like
Yeah,
badass, like bam, start off big, and then you go back into slow.
got some
It's so awesome.
got some action right out the get go, huh?
Yeah, and what's crazy is that at the end of that scene, the people at shore who are like who got sliced and all them, they're like, oh, it's that legendary guy, Satuichi. He killed a crazy good samurai. And it's like, but we know that like he was not in a good shape at all. He was like vomiting blood. Like,
Yeah, he definitely wasn't at the top of his game for sure.
but so he like floats off and like lands on shore. I guess he just swims away blind. I don't know how he does it. I guess he's just that awesome. But he's on shore sleeping, and Lone Wolf shows up, and he's just like looking at him, and he's like, "Hey, like a bunch of people on the way." He's like still asleep, and he fights off like 6 dudes and wins.
Yeah, he takes him out like nothing. And he's it's funny how you're saying that he was swimming because you could see him in the bottom of the water. There's a scene where he's really just pushing, like swimming through there, and you're like, how is he knowing which way to go or what? But then I say he's got the senses, you know.
I just imagine him like swimming deeper and deeper, being like, "Where's the surface?"
I smell the moss at the end of the water. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's a thing with pressure. Like you can kind of tell as he gets deeper, the pressure gets up. I don't know. I'm making up excuses for him. I think they just wanted him to get to land safely, so they were like, "He swims now." But the gang is like, "We're gonna kill him and steal his money." Oh wait, no. No, Lone Wolf fights off everyone and steals money from all the dead people. Which Zatoichi does not do. So immediately
And he's
we
pretty
have a
much
contrast.
Ichi's fighting, and Ichi's fighting like with his clothes. He doesn't even have his clothes on, man. He's just so they're fighting. He has that wrap around him. I think it's just hilarious. There's some humor to these films that don't really mean to stand out, but they do.
There's like no humor in the next one. The next one's depressing.
More serious.
But it's funny because the first like actual scene from the aside from the intro is him like pissing on a house, and a guy just shows up and is like, "Hey, we want a massage." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm not done yet." He's like just peeing in an alley.
He's like, "Hold on a bit. Let me concentrate here."
He massages like a super like high ranking lord who's like a total like jerk and like drunk. And he's like playing with Zatoichi. Zatoichi like he's really low on the class. So he's like he'll get killed if he like fucks with the lord. So he's like just like trying to whatever. Eventually they just send him away, and apparently he has some sort of condition, the lord. They say something. They just say like, "Oh, he has a condition."
Yeah.
Kill Zatoichi.
Yeah. Is he the ticklish one, or we're not there yet? Because I know there's a ticklish guy that he's massaging. He keeps laughing.
Yeah,
and
I think
makes
it's
Ichi
him.
very uncomfortable. Yeah. He just keeps laughing, and Ichi's like, "Man, I can't do my job here if you don't stay still."
I think it was because he was like super drunk and probably just had like alcoholism or something, and it was like a bad image to see like a ruler like drunk. So I don't know. It starts the story though.
Yeah.
Sending off a bunch of dudes.
Something like that. Yeah. And then he has another candle scene where he's cutting candles again. Like the lights are going out. He's chopping them up.
Oh yeah, that was cool. We get another.
Yeah, it's like. Huh. No, it goes from like light to dark. It's a real cool scene. Like all the light, it's bright, and then all of a sudden it's just dark.
That was the one with the
standing there in his stance.
5 candles, right?
Yeah, it was 5. It was more candles. Yeah, 5 candles.
Yeah, because it was an actual demonstration.
I thought that was real cool.
Instead of like people heckling him to entertain them, it was like a actual teaching moment for like apprentices, which was cool.
Yeah.
So, and he said yes.
Yeah.
So like obviously they didn't know what they were doing. Movie 1.
They're just standing there in shock, like, I ain't messing with this guy, man. No way in hell.
We do get a moment when they're searching for him, but I think it's after the candle scene. But they're hunting all over town for
Yeah.
Zatoichi, and he's at the end. Seems like a brothel, because there's a bunch of women like just
Mhm.
kind of hanging around, like serving tea and like sake to everyone.
Yeah.
And he says, "No woman wants a blind man." He's being sad. He does this every movie, except for the last one, I think, or no, number 4. He doesn't do that.
Treat him really awful for his disability throughout the films. They're really like really mean, cold hearted to him, man, because he's a blind.
Yeah, that's it. Always makes for good drama. So, because you get a
Yeah.
lot of moments where he's like, "Ah, fuck you," and he like slices people up, and they're like, "Oh shit, he's real." Like,
How can a blind man swing like that?
but there's a moment in the end when he wants to buy like sake for someone, or like the lone wolf and cub guy comes in and he's trying to buy one of the women in there who looks
Mhm.
like some woman named Ochio, who we don't know yet.
Oh yeah.
And it's around this time that we find out that Zatoichi is actually like 26, 27. So he's like
Yeah.
really young. Like, so in the last movie he was 25, because it's about a year difference through each of these
Yeah.
movies. So that's cool.
And I I think that Ochiwo was his first love. I can't say the name right, but I think it was his first love that his brother left. His brother took her away from him,
Yeah.
if I'm correct.
And that was a question I had throughout this movie, because they don't mention at all that Zatoichi has a brother. This entire movie is
Mhm.
actually Lone Wolf. And I was sitting there
Yeah.
like, they didn't notice each other. Like, they didn't recognize each other. Like, there had to be something. The eyes usually is like the same. Like,
Mhm.
when you grow. Like, I don't. Maybe it's a nitpicking thing I have. But I feel like they should have recognized each other. So it seemed kind of out of nowhere at the end of the movie that they were brothers.
And I think that's what they discuss is your eyes. I can tell, your eyes that we're related, even though they should know already, like you said.
Yeah, and we get the same story of the woman running off because he was blind and whatever.
Hmm.
And we find out while he's hiding that Boss Kanbei is hunting Zatoichi, who is from the first movie. So he was one of the like second hands, I think.
Yeah. And then he also has a love thing for the master's sister, huh? He's pretty much like he wants to pretty much get serious and marry her, and his master thinks that's just like so disrespectful because he's like a blind and he don't have money. He wants his sister to have someone with money.
Yeah, that was like an actual thing that happens in a lot of samurai movies. That's always like a
Yeah.
point of drama. Like even in Seven Samurai, which is like the most classic masterpiece movie, they have a scene like that where a father's like, "No, you can't date him. He's a peasant, so don't have money."
Yeah, and he tells him pretty much the master, if you even think of this, you challenge me right now because I ain't letting it happen. And Ichi just thinks, well, that's my master. I can't disrespect him. I could probably take him, but I'm not gonna disrespect him.
Yeah, because I remember, because maybe I didn't write everything down because I don't remember all that much from
Me
movie
either.
two. But the next thing that's on my list is that he hires a thug for 25 gold coins, which is a lot, I assume, because it's gold.
Yeah.
But he's like, don't mention the name Kuroda, who I guess is the father. And he's like, oh, it's just a blind guy, I'll kill him. And he's with the daughter at that point, and they're just talking about like Lone Wolf basically, and it's like, oh, that guy's weird. Like, I'm happy he didn't buy you for the evening. And the gang's like, hey, Zatoichi, come out here. We want to kill you. And Zatoichi is like, daughter of the innkeeper, leave. You don't want to get caught up in this. And he kills them, of course, because,
Hmm.
he's a badass. But yeah, that was a cool scene.
Yeah, that was very cool.
And everyone runs away.
The thing that makes me laugh on this part also is that massage he gets from the tickling master. I'm bringing that up again. he he never gets paid for it, so it's funny towards the end when he like finally takes him out. And he's like, he's gonna take him out showdown. He's like, you still didn't pay me for that massage.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm like, man, he took it serious that they didn't pay him for that massage.
He does not forget. Oh my gosh.
No.
Because I would have just been like, oh, I didn't get the money. Oh well, and just kind of cut it as a loss. But man, he did not. That was on his
Like,
mind.
I want my money. And it's like, I'm not gonna kill you. I want my money for my massage.
I mean, to be fair, he is like the lowest of the low in terms of the class structure, so he needs like every little bit of money. So like,
Yeah.
I don't blame him, and that comes around again in the last movie of the set. But there's a cool detail about where Zatoichi finds out that Sukagoro, who was one of the bosses in the last movie, is like working with Kanbei, who I think was mentioned in the last movie, wasn't shown. But he's allowing Yoshiro, apparently I did write it down eventually, aka Lone Wolf, I have that in my notes. He's staying at that inn that Zatoichi stayed in the last movie, despite having dozens of charges of like rape, murder, pillaging, like every awful charge ever.
Yeah.
And
it's brought up through the film.
Yeah, and he's like, just kill Zatoichi, like, please.
Just saying that he's trying to get to that temple to pay respect for Hirate from the first part. That's what his plans were before he got caught up on all this stuff, you know.
Yeah, and that's when we find out that it is a year later in the timeline. So that's what's cool. But there's a hilarious moment in that scene when Kanbei is like about to assassinate Zatoichi. He's like standing there with a sword, and Zatoichi is like, "Hey, what's the time?" And he's like, "Noon," while like holding his sword, like in a striking move. And Zatoichi is like, "I don't recognize you." And he's like, "Oh, you're the boss." He's like, "I'm here because I was here in the last movie." He doesn't say that, of course, but he's like, "I was here last year." And he was like, "Oh," and the boss walks up and doesn't reveal he's there. And he's like, "Oh, I will leave, before the boss sees me, so he won't have to thank everybody or thank me in front of everyone for winning the war single-handedly," which is such a middle finger to him. I love that.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Ichi is he'll walk in and he'll pretty much disrespect you in front of you, but he has like a kind of personality towards it. I think pisses him off even more because they know he's not angry, but what he can do.
That was just such a funny moment because there's like 20 people and he thinks it's just him and Kanbei. And there's like entire hallways and rooms full behind Kanbei as he's about to strike Zatoichi. He's like, "What time is it?" "Oh, I'll leave before the boss sees me." It's like so funny.
And that's the thing about these films is the humor, it just pops up. It could be an intense battle scene or something humorous pops up and you're like, "Oh my god, they really put that there?" But it works. It works for the film.
That, again, I'm here for Zatoichi. Every movie, he's the breakout star. Maybe aside from number 4. That movie, we'll get to it, but I think everyone was on drugs that day and just did not care.
And I liked it, but I get what you're saying. The story wasn't the greatest. I thought it was rushed.
Yeah, and it's a longer movie too, so it was padded out, I thought. We'll get to it, but
yeah, we'll get to it.
There was a really great scene. He goes to the lake where he fished with Hirate. He's like singing, or there's like someone singing in the like soundtrack. And he like catches a real dragonfly. Like the actor himself, a dragonfly flew by and he caught it with his eyes closed. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, did he do that just randomly? Like he was sitting there all day waiting for that shot? Because it flies away, he lets go and it flies off. And I was like, what? I was like, that's not a robot, that's not a drone. It's like, how did he do that?
all I gotta say is Miyagi, look out, man.
Yeah, I know. Like, shit.
Karate Kid.
Yeah. I haven't seen that since I was, like, young.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he does. He just has those senses that are like killer, man. They always impress me in every film. I'm like, how'd you know that? How would you do that? Because you could like put yourself in a not we're not blind, but you could put yourself in his shoes and just say like that's not possible. There's no way he could do that, and he
I
does
couldn't
it.
do that with my eyes open.
Yeah,
Catch a dragonfly? Like, kidding me?
yeah, me neither.
He's just badass. I've surrendered.
Yeah, me too.
Did you catch the detail? It's immediately after this. Was Zatoichi bankrupted a gambling house in the last movie after that intro scene?
Yeah, he takes that money. It's like a dark scene, huh? He just puts the cup over the dice, and he's like, "I know you cheated. I could hear the movement of the dice, or something like that."
I think that was my favorite line in the movie because they're like gambling, but they have no money because Zatoichi stole it all in the last movie. And he's like, "Oh shit, Zatoichi's in town. Everyone put up your gambling stuff."
He
And
already has a
Zatoichi walks by
reputation.
and he's like, "Is there gambling happening?" And they're like, "Nope," because they
Put your
know.
money away. Yeah, it's like put your money away. Ichi's here.
I love these like continuing like ripples from like the last movie.
Yeah, and they seem to like pick it up a notch. If they do go to another scene, they bring it back. It's picked up a notch where, like you're saying, there's humor, and it's also more like added to the added to the scene. I don't know how to say that, but something like that.
Yeah. I did you eye roll like I did when Otane showed up, the sister of the asshole who Zatoichi let drown and did not even move a muscle to save him.
Oh yeah, that was an eye roll.
Yeah, she
I
showed
wasn't
up
too
and she was
crazy
like,
about
"Hey,
her.
oh no," and I was like, "Ugh."
Her again, and she's menacing when she comes back. She's not a good character at all.
Yeah, because it's a year later and she like has a lot more like politicking and manipulation going on, which is interesting. So we see growth in our characters.
Yeah, and they even say that the when she's dating, she's like she's not a young lady no more. She's a woman. She's changed.
It's what I like about my long series. But
Growth, man. You gotta have growth.
yeah, that's all I asked for. Okay, and Zatoichi from this movie all the way to the fifth one, there's a lot. Like he's night and day different, which is interesting. But Otane is the one who has to show up and tell him people are coming for you. They're going to kill you. And I was like, he knows. Everyone wants him dead. And so they go to the grave of Hirate, which is fun. It's like a set
Uh,
gravestone or tombstone. And that was
and
cool. So the kid followed through on his, like, getting him a good grave.
he was a man of his word. And about that scene, I just love it because, like on the fight scenes, he has the respect to tell the enemies, "We can't fight on here. It's a sacred ground. We'll be cursed. So let's take it to this area. Have more
Yeah, I wrote that
respect."
down too. That was really striking because we could have had a badass scene where they're fighting between the tombstones and like
Yeah,
hopping over. Like, no, like Zatoichi's like, no, we are going somewhere else, and the bad guys are like, yeah, I agree. And I was like, holy shit! Like, I was like, what a great
they
like
freak.
detail.
They actually listen to him.
But they have a showdown, which is fun because there's like dozens of people. There's a lot.
Yeah, and I think
But
that's when
yeah,
Ichi was the most like outlaw is during that scene.
whew, yeah. Well, just you wait till movie five. Oh my god, he is night and day different than this Satuichi. But they're fighting like side by side. He and his older brother, which we don't even know he's his brother at that moment. It's like the last shot of the movie. He's like, "You killed my brother," and it's like, "Wait, what? That was your brother?"
Yeah,
But what was I in my notes?
and it was his their feud was between a girl, huh? It was Ichi's first love. His older brother took her away
Yeah,
and pretty
Ochio.
much yeah, and tells her I killed her. That sets Ichi off.
Oh yeah, he goes bloodthirsty after that.
But then he throws his brother Lone Wolf in the river and jumps in with him. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
I don't know if you know this, but rivers are pretty dirty, and you don't want an open wound in a river. There are bacteria. There's like a bunch of bad shit in there.
I can pretty much put it together there just after you saying that.
It's fine. It's a cool moment. There's like, dozens of people, like, because they're on a tiny bridge where it's like only one person can cross at a time. And so, like, it's an epic shot. It's like a, over the head shot or whatever. And it's like a
Yeah.
big concentric ring of like 30 people. And they jump. But I do want to note that we get our first blood spatter in this film, in the series,
Yeah.
when his arm gets cut, like on his fighting arm. Like, blood goes everywhere. So that was cool.
Yeah.
There was no blood in the last movie, but blood vomit.
It, it comes out there, and I noticed that, and it's funny because when he jumps in the river, they're like, Ichi's dead. He's not surviving that. So they're walking the other way, and he's there standing, just like relaxing.
Oh, yeah, that was a badass moment.
And he's like, they're all thinking he's dead. He's a goner. No one will survive that. And he's just sitting there like, I fooled you guys again. This was easy. Something like that.
Yeah, I didn't write down the thing. But it's funny because they're like talking a lot of shit about Zatoichi. Like, as he's sitting there and they're walking up. And he's just like, you killed my brother, while Kanbei is like right in front of him. And if the movie went on a little more, I think we would have seen, because he like slashes right at him from like shoulder to like hip. And in my head, I want his whole body to like split in half. But
Yeah.
they didn't have the effect, so they just ended the movie. Credits roll.
That's where it ends, yeah.
One quick detail, though, is that Lone Wolf does die, and he mentions that Uchio's still alive, and that he ran away because he was also a cripple. I don't know what he was a cripple on, because he was, like, there was nothing.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh.
think he said that Ichi sliced him when he found out. I think. When he found out that
Oh, was it like
he
a
took
big
off.
sky? I think he talked about a sky. And that's
Yeah,
what,
he
like,
sliced him.
threw her
Ichi
off.
sliced him because he tells him, "You crippled me," or something like that, and he's all, "I'll never forgive you for that."
Yeah, and Zatoichi laughs, like, when he brings that up. Because that's the last thing he says. He's like, oh, she's still alive. She ran away because I'm a cripple. And Zatoichi laughs. And his brother dies. And, like, that was his last word. And I was like, wow, he went out with a joke.
Yeah, yeah. Some more humor moments. Also, I want to point out that film 3 brings the color to the franchise or
Yeah,
the series.
that was my first note.
I was waiting for that, even though I enjoyed the black and white.
It definitely brings it to life a lot more. Because, just to throw it out, the movie's called New Tale of Zatoichi, 1963. This is the
Yes.
first one of color. It's color the rest of the way. So, as I said, I hope you enjoy it while it lasts. With the
And
black
you
and
warned me
white.
about that.
I was like, it's not long. Like, they made a lot of money on this, so they really upgraded the like the equipment and all that. And even and again, the restoration is incredible on this box set.
Oh, yes, it is. 100% agree with that. There's
So,
another humor moment I want to bring up is when Ichi's singing and he tells everyone to cover their ears or pretend they're deaf. I just cracked up on that part.
yeah. Well, let me do a notable cast real quick, just to kind of throw
Oh,
it
okay,
out.
I'm jumping here. So
Yeah, there's some really cool people in this movie. There's, well, one very specific one, which I think we
Okay.
talked about. His name is Tatsuo Endo. He's in a lot of Japanese cult films. So, and he's in Takashi Miike's Audition. He played the older doctor who branded the ballerina's thighs. And, like, he's the reason why she became, like, a murderous serial killer. He's in the Battles Without Honor series. He's in Sex and Fury, which I've seen, but I don't remember anything about. I know that title. He's in Lone Wolf and Cub 4, which you may have recognized him from there. I haven't seen that movie in so long, though.
I gotta revisit that again then.
Yeah,
I
and
don't. I didn't remember him on there. I'm gonna have to check it out again.
yeah, I looked him up, and he's the bald guy. He's very prominent in these movies, but the last appearance he did, I'm only noting this because Arrow is putting out a huge box set soon. He's in the Daimajin series, which is the stone like kaiju monster, like Godzilla, but he's the stone like samurai guy. So
Man,
he's in a lot of stuff. I was going down his IMDb and I was like, holy shit.
I so want that set. I want that set, man.
I think it's like 10 movies or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I just haven't had the money yet to pick that one up.
Yeah. He's I like the intro that he does in this movie because he's drinking tea, eating rice, just, he's vibing, he's hanging out. And he leaves and he's like, wow, it's so cold, and you see like, the misting of the breath. And apparently people that Kanbei sent, who he killed in the literally final shot of the movie, they're like, hey, he's the guy who killed Kanbei. Kill him. And 2 of them die and 1 runs away. And once they're far enough away, he cries. Because he's like, he hates killing all these people for nothing.
And that does take a big toll on him. It takes a toll on him. Like each people he's killed, you could tell he's feeling bad, but he knows the life he lives.
Yeah, and it's contrasted, like, the next scene is him walking on the road, and he's just, like, melancholy, sad. And we get a group of kids, like, singing and making fun of his blindness. And you think, oh, no, he's going to be upset. But he, like, smiles, and he's like, huh, so I don't need a comb because I'm bald. Ha! He just goes on with his life. Like,
he dances around.
Yeah.
Goes with it.
And again, I said this earlier, this was the depressing movie. So, just to give the context.
I could see that. He reunites with his master, man. And it's not too good.
Yeah, it's bad. Because he was like really, because it's been 4 years and he trained with him. Because he's not a samurai. Because it's really hard for blind people to become samurai in this society. But he's a really good sword fighter. And, he was brought up by this, like, expert sword master. And he's, like, right outside. But he's going to surprise him. And he's, like, going in the spring and, like, washing up, whatever. And a bunch of Kanbei's friends show up to, like, kill him. And he's like, okay, I guess I have to do this now. This is the fight scene. And his swordmaster shows up and he's like, Zatoichi, what are you doing? It's like, get in here. He's like, we'll fight later.
And they're still looking at him all awful, man. They're following him with this like look like, once he doesn't know, we're getting you,
We get an awesome scene, I think, right after that, when he... What movie am I in? Okay, I'm in the right section. I think we're skipping back and forth.
I think we were going out of content there a little bit.
Yeah, but he... I think he's on the way to town after meeting his guy. But he's on the way to town and he meets his childhood friend, Tamakishi, who has a kid and a wife now, and they're both really poor, making a living on music. That's where the scene comes up, where he's singing, and he's like, cover your ears. Hope you're deaf.
Or pretend to be deaf,
well.
Yeah, he does. And then that's where he does that candle test where he cuts all those candles and then it goes like light to dark.
Yeah. But they do get robbed, which is interesting because he lets it happen.
Oh, yeah. Which
I was like, why would he do that? And I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to hurt anyone. in the next scene, he shows up to the robber's house. He's like, "Hey, there's that tattoo." He's like, "Well, I don't have a tattoo," and like covers it. And he like calls him out, and his entire gang like oust everybody who was involved in the robbery because they didn't know that was happening, and so they pay everyone back like double, and like everyone loves Ichi for that. I really like that moment.
Yeah.
When he like pins him down and has like his arm like ready to break.
Yeah. And he gets all the names of all the guys, all the robbers. He gets it out of them. Like this guy, I can't say their names, but then they bring them out, like push. They like push the guys out.
And then yeah, like, I really like that moment. That was like one of the best ones in my opinion.
Yeah, it's real. It's like him taking his time, like he's waiting for his moment just to unleash the Ichi we all know.
There's a so he travels on because that's what he does, and it ends up that Kanbei's brother is the one who's been trying to kill him and keeps like sending stuff. And that's when the fight is interrupted by his old master Bano, who is not doing well at all.
Yeah.
It seems like 4 years ago he was being trained. So he was about 21, 22, so interesting timeline stuff going on.
He tells him you're one of the hardest workers I've ever trained. There's no one that can work like you.
Yeah, and like watching, because while they're talking about that, there's people training in the back, and like they look like they're going pretty hard. But at the same time, we don't see Zatoichi training, so who knows? Maybe he was doing it like 24/7. I think they say that, don't they? They're like,
they say night and day, or day and night. I have it backwards. But yeah, he tells him, you don't want Ichi to demonstrate for you guys. You'll see what a real master's like. Pretty much what the teacher tells him. For a hard worker, I don't know if he calls him master or hard worker, but he's like his sword techniques are one of a kind. I don't know if I put in the proper wording, but it's something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. But that's when the sister shows up. I think it's the sister of Bano. Yeah, Bano.
Yeah,
Bano's like double her age because she's like 18, just become of age for marriage. And she's supposed to marry a samurai, but she falls in love with Ichi. So we set up the reluctant lover plotline that happens every movie.
Ichi gets the females, man. No question about it.
He doesn't want them, though. He refuses.
It's like, you can't go in my life, you know.
I'm a Yakuza.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to go down my road.
Yeah. And it's funny because we find out that the master has become corrupt. And he's fallen on financial hard times. And he's with the Tengu gang, who is new. Yeah. We've never heard of them before.
And they're a vicious gang too.
Yeah, they like just kill people. like
no thoughts about it.
And because it's after that we get a little scene with the sword master and like one of the spies or something. And he's like, "Hey, you owe money." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine, that's fine." And he like pays the money and he's like, "What's that for?" And the sister's like, "Oh, he's with the gang."
Yeah. That's the rules they run, and
but we have
pretty much don't have notes on that, so
yeah. There's a really funny moment right after that little detail where Zatoichi is like massaging a samurai, but he knows he's like an awful person because they're like bragging about how many people they've killed. And so Zatoichi keeps like pinching like a delicate like, nerve. He's like, what the fuck? And he like can't move his leg because he like hyper focused like his weight. and like,
Right?
and
He's like,
another,
"What'd you do to me, you blind bastard?"
yeah.
Tells him like that. All crazy.
And another samurai shows up and he's like, "Hey, we gotta be careful to let Masu's in. There's a deadly one around here." And I'm like, "He's in here. You're looking at him."
Little do you know.
And they kick him out without paying because he's like an asshole. And like, well, I don't say he's an asshole, but to them he was because he like almost killed the nerves in his leg.
Yeah.
And they walk away and he's like, "Let yourself out. I don't even want to give you the honor of letting you out." And he's like, he kind of perks his ears and he's like, "Oh, no one's around here." Takes the tea and like pours it all over the place.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that about pinching him because he does that again in another film coming up.
Oh yeah, yeah. He goes deadly with that one.
Yeah. So it must have been an ongoing technique.
And that's when the five candles thing happens. Right after that, so we've talked about it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I might have went out of order on there.
We
But
get a really sad moment when Yayoi proposes marriage to Ichi. She's the sister of the swords master. And he just lists off all his perceived faults and how much like he doesn't deserve her, like all this stuff. He finally relents and accepts. And we're like, yes! Like, it's not going to be movie 18 when he goes, okay, I'll be married. And his master is a dick.
oh my god.
It is so
And
bad.
that's where you say it gets depressing. That's where it starts to get depressing more.
Because he, like, cusses him out. He's like, "You cannot have my sister. And sister, you're a whore." And he, like, throws her out, throws him out. And the gangster shows up and he's like, "I'm here to kill you." And he's like, because he just promised her that he's not going to do violence anymore. And, like, throws away his sword. And he's like, "Fine, we'll gamble." And this is an awesome moment.
Yes.
Because he rolls it and he's like, if you get even, you live. If you get odd, you lose. He gets odd.
I forgot about that.
He's going to cut his arm off. And the gangster pushes the dice over to become even. And the sister sees this and they don't say anything. And it's like, "Oh, Zatoichi, you won today." And Zatoichi's like, "I know." It's like, it was like at the last scene of the movie, he's like, "I know," he like changed it.
I know it was odd or whatever.
That was a great moment.
It was because I didn't expect that guy to have any feeling or how do you say it, sympathy towards him.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to kill him really bad. But that just shows you that the honor and the code can uplift the hate you have towards him in these films.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really like that scene. I totally forgot about that.
Me too.
And I had to note it down.
And I didn't have that noted, so it's a good thing you brought it up.
We're almost on movie 4 on my notes, so we're going pretty quick.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm like looking at Bono arrives somewhere. Oh no, this is like, okay, we already covered this. Great. I think they kidnapped somebody, and
yeah.
the master has to go find him, and he has like a bunch of gold to like pay the ransom.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up and he's killed. Like, he kills a couple of the people, and then someone else kills him. While Zatoichi is trying to save the hostage, because they like meet in a separate location first.
Yeah. And I love that scene. I love that scene.
It's great. This was a scene I remembered, so
yeah.
A few.
And that's where he asked for his massage money. Who's gonna show who's gonna show down with these guys? That
was my mom.
that Tengu gang or whatever. This is when he's totally like doesn't give a fuck, man.
He kills like
he's
15
just like,
people.
Yeah, he just goes and he's like, no pity. You see no pity out of him. Like, he usually will spare a few. These ones, he's like, they try to pass through him. He pushes them back. Like, you guys ain't going nowhere. It's your deathbed right here. And I love the fog setting. There's a fog setting in that.
Yeah.
That
There's
man,
like
it just stands out.
statues like everywhere.
Yeah, like it's just a scene that is so like beautiful, like dark but beautiful.
We do get a showdown between him and his teacher, I believe.
Mhm.
Or someone
Yeah,
else. I think it is Zatoichi and Bono, his
yeah. He
master.
he takes out that Tango gang first, and then it's him and his master
Because we gotta have
shortly
that
after that.
showdown.
Yeah,
We gotta.
it's coming.
And of course, Zatoichi wins because we got 23 or, yeah, no, 22 more movies after this. And Ichi cries again. Anytime he
It's a
defeats a really
it's a
good person.
heartbreaking
Yeah.
scene, man.
Because he didn't want to fight him. Like, he is such a reluctant
No,
guy.
that's the guy that taught him everything. He's it's just awful to see that, and you could tell he's hurting afterwards, man.
And the sister is like, "Oh, let me come with you. Let me marry you." And he's like, "Did you just see what I did? I'm that kind of man."
Yep.
And he wanders off.
And I had that written down. I'm that kind of man. I had that written down.
That was such a powerful like line.
Yeah. That's such a like I don't know, it just that's a scene that just gets to you. Like you feel for him. You're like, man, he's been nothing but loyal to this master. He went the wrong way and he has to kill him, and you could tell just crushes his whole persona. That's like his father figure pretty much.
Yeah, he
You have
just
to
killed
take
him.
out. And you just killed him. It's just you feel it. I felt that whole scene, honestly. I just was man. You could walk in his shoes and just like think of what he's feeling. Like I don't know. I just killed my father figure, the guy who taught me everything. I just found out he's a negative guy. He's on the wrong path, and this is what it's led to. This is the kind of life I live and lead, which he tells to the sister.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I was trying to like figure out in earlier in the episode. Is I was like, is this a good double feature with the first movie? Because it ends so like bittersweet, along with the first one, and I don't know if I can
Yeah,
handle both of these. Although it is like an hour and 12 minutes.
yeah, yeah. That ending really stuck out to me. That, like I said in a past video, the first part will always be in my head. I think that ending will stay in my head as well when he kills his master.
Definitely. Let's go on to movie 4 now. Zatoichi the
Okay.
Fugitive. Same year. Actually, it's the next year, 1963. Notable cast: Miwa
63.
Takada. She plays 3 different female lead roles in the series. She plays Nobu in this film, who I think is one of the best female leads so far in this segment. And you may be shocked, but her only other major role that she's ever had outside of Zatoichi was being the voice of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the Japanese dub.
Oh wow. What a change of character there.
Yeah, because I was looking it up and I was like, because on Wikipedia, like, there's like 1 or 2 names that are always like
Oh wow.
highlighted that you can like explore more. So usually I just click those for the research instead of doing every single person. And for her, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, Rudolph.
Rudolph. Samurai girl to Rudolph. Wow.
Yeah. And the other notable cast is Toru Abe, who is one of the gang bosses, Yagiri Tokiyoro. And he's appeared on movies like Blind Woman's Curse, which is released by Arrow. That one's really good. Really good pinky violence film.
Hmm.
Tokyo Story, which is regarded as one of the best Japanese films of all time. I haven't seen it. I should. It's on Criterion. Lady Snowblood 2, which I've heard is good. Lady Snowblood 1 is awesome. Haven't seen the others.
I've seen those.
Oh,
I've
have you?
seen those. They're awesome. Yes, I got those on Arrow
Hmm. I
from
need to
Arrow.
get those. And he is also on Cops versus Thugs, which is another Arrow video release. So these people have been
I've heard
around.
of that, but I've never seen those. I've heard of them.
Yeah, I've seen the cover, which looks really cool, but Haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the opening scene in this movie, and it's a shame that's my least favorite movie of so far.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
I had a blast with this one, even though it is bad.
Because this one, we start off and he's just sweating, which is a great contrast to the last movie, which is like
Yeah.
snow and frozen and all that. And he's like in a sumo wrestling like match to earn money,
Yeah.
and he's just fucking people up like left and right, and it's so funny. Like
I was I was dying laughing on this.
the one of the artworks in the book that has when you turn it and you can see like Zatoichi in
Mhm.
different forms. One of them is him in this match with the bandages and stuff on his arms.
Oh well.
So, because that's a like really distinct like image.
The thing that gets me about these scenes are the sumo wrestlers are skinny.
Yeah,
You usually have them like big guys, and these ones are all skinny. I was just laughing.
yeah. Because it seems like with this one, it's more like agility based, like more just wrestling. Like
And it's funny because he's just wrestling to get water. That's all he wants is to
he
drink the
keeps like
water.
sipping water between each
Yeah.
fight.
He's like, give me another one, another swig, like it's sake or something.
We so I really like the intro scene of this movie and this very specific plot line of Kisuke, who is a like gangster who like attacks him.
Mm,
And he's like, "Oh, tell my mother, sorry or whatever for being a shithead."
yeah, yeah.
And so he
Pretty
goes
much.
to his mom and he's like, "Hey, like, I killed your son." And she's like, "Was it with honor?" And he's like, "Yeah, we both knew, like we were fighting." So, and he gives her money and says that that was Kisuke's money, but it was
Mhm.
actually his. And so, like, that's probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, and he's like, the mom's like, he had it coming to him anyways.
And at the end of the movie, she's like, "I wish you were my son." He's like, "No, you don't. I'm a blind guy. I'm a Yakuza." He says it every movie, we know.
Pretty much the worst of the worst in their eyes at that time.
Yeah. Otane is in this movie. She shows up like a few
Mm.
scenes, but is like killed, I think.
Yeah, and she's with that samurai, the villain.
Yeah. And I think that's why I don't really like this movie, because it is just like slicing off, like hanging threads from the last
Mhm.
movies. So it's like, oh, Otana's dead. Or Otana's dead now. Like just killing people off.
And I like it because of the menacing part. Because you see Otani, she's pretty much she's turned corrupt. She's gone her menacing ways. She's with this piece of crap who's pretty much just drinking his life away and then getting her for his pleasure. And it just
Yeah.
shows a whole other side to her.
She's definitely very different, but like, I also saw this movie immediately after the third one, which is like awesome. So
Hmm.
like, it was like 3 hours of watching Zatoichi. So I should have like spaced these out, but it was last night. I was trying to be ahead and be
Yeah,
on time for this. But
yeah,
yeah,
I
don't watch these movies like one after the other. Like
could get burnt out.
even from one movie to the next, I get burnt out. So
Yeah,
I'm
I just
trying to find any like especially good notes because I don't remember any of these.
and it's kind of funny, like how you brought up the mom of the guy he killed. They
Yeah,
have this awkward relationship because they're kind of like they'll be okay with each other, and then they're telling each other off the next minute, and it's like it's real awkward. Like you're like, does she like him or doesn't she? But she trusts him. She trusts his vision. Like you said, I think she knows her son ain't a good guy like Ichi is. Like he brought the money to her, all that. I don't know if I gave a spoiler away there, but
yeah. What's interesting is that his actions are good, Ichi's, but because of how society views Blind and Masua's, he's awful.
Mhm.
Like, so
Yeah,
it's like this dynamic that's like really interesting.
but I definitely like that Otani and Ichi reunite because they had like a love thing going on. So I thought that was pretty cool. Even though the circumstances they're under, they're not in good terms. But
Yeah, because
it's
they
cool.
almost saw each other in the last movie. Because I mentioned it, she shows up, but they don't see each other. In this movie, they
Oh,
very much do. So
there's another character you Giddy, and he's just like this coward that he pretty much double crosses everyone in this film.
I have him. I also copy pasted the notes. I don't remember him
Uh-huh.
at all.
He's like the guy that's supposed to be like the king, take over, but he even admits that he's a coward. That he can't fight and
Huh.
he's weak. He even says, I'm a weak man," and it just upsets me. So it has him playing both sides. He'll go to Ichi's side or he'll go to the villain side. He's just playing sides because he has no, how can I say, no balls, pretty much.
Hmm. Well, I don't know when I'll be watching this movie, but
Yeah.
if
Oh,
I think
that's
of
the part I caught.
it.
If you go back to the first part, what's the guy's name that's pretty much has the girl pregnant and
Oh,
he's a
Tate.
Tate. He's that kind of character in this film, like
Okay.
this guy, but he's more likable
Hmm.
because he does have a good side to him. But he's the kind of guy that, I mean, he wants to kill Ichi. He's his friend, but then he wants to kill him
I think I'll remember
just to
that
prove.
detail. Is that there was someone who
Yeah,
kept like going back and forth.
yeah, that's him, and he's just, man, he's a character you'll love or hate in this film,
Can we talk about
or
the
little
best
Paul.
scene ever?
Sure,
Not
get
to
to it,
interrupt
man.
you, but uh,
No,
we're making really good time, so we can go back if we want. But
yeah, no, I don't have too much notes anyways, so keep it
yeah,
going.
this movie is just like eh. But there's a very specific scene that I loved when he's like at the celebration with all the Yakuza leaders, and they're
Mm,
like, "Oh, we're gonna bet on you," and he's like showing his skill and it's like being awesome, showing that Otane belongs to him, like all this stuff. He's like, "Okay, perform some stuff, and maybe we'll let you consider." And he like throws the tea across the room, and it lands in like this tiny sake bottle. And they're
oh
like,
yeah, that's
"Wow, that's so
awesome.
cool." And then he just cuts it in half while the guy is holding it,
Mhm.
and splits the bottle in half and the dice like perfectly. It was so
Perfectly.
awesome.
What he does is he tops that samurai. The samurai cuts the cup at first in half, and he's like, "I'm the man." And like Ichi's like, "No, you're not. Look at this." And so he throws the dice in there, cuts both of them, and the even that samurai's telling him afterwards, "You defeated me." He tells him straight up, "You defeated
Yeah,
me."
I forgot to note that, but yeah, that was
Mhm.
like so awesome.
Yeah, that was. I think that tops the candle parts.
There's a funny moment when he's giving a massage to like some random guy, and someone's like, "Whoa, you're Zatoichi." And at one point, they're like, "Let me tell you the tale of Zatoichi," which is like a title drop for a past movie. And it's
Oh,
like they're
I didn't
telling
get
all
that.
the different stuff that he's done up to that point, like in the movie universe, and talks about the fight with Hirate and name drops him, I think, because they
Uh,
talk about like a legendary fighter who,
and
as we know, he's vomiting blood like during that scene.
that's a lot of homage. I love when they do homage to the other parts like that.
Yeah, it happens a lot, but I don't remember any of them, so it was like a lot of fun to like watch all those.
I like when they set up Ichi. They have Otani say she wants to meet him, but it's the samurai waiting. He's just waiting to pretty much take out Ichi. Sends him to that warehouse. Or I
Oh
don't know what it
yeah,
is. Not a warehouse, but like a it's like an old house,
is it the
and they're
old
all
inn that Nobu and her family
there. You
own?
yeah, there you go. The old inn exactly. And he's set up, and he walks in there, and he's like, okay, I already knew that. I know what's going on now. He's like ready.
Yeah, because some guy shows up with a rifle and like tries to shoot him a couple times and misses on all of them.
Yeah, And I just thought that was excellent, man, to do it that way.
I don't
And
have
that's where you get
much else, but what?
and that's okay. So that's where you get that Saki. What I can't say his name, but Sakishi, the one I told you plays both sides. That's when he's trying to kill Ichi. Is in that last part.
Huh, okay. Because I started paying attention a bit more once
Yeah,
they got to the house. Because I was like,
but
I don't
man,
care. Like, I was just, you know. The third
and
one is so good. Like,
I love that ending. I don't know why. I know you don't care for it much, but I just love how they show down in a beach. That's not like the
yeah.
beach, but it's like it's sand and water, I should say. But man, it's a good setting.
I love the, as Tanakira, I believe is the husband's name. He's
Hmm.
like, because Otane and Ichi both love each other, but like, she's married to this other guy. And
Yeah.
as he's dying, he's like, Ichi, guess what? You only have a romanticized, like, image of Otane. And
Hmm.
it was her idea just to get the reward. And it's like, is it
Yeah.
true? Is he just saying that? Like, what? But I can see it being true, like, because she's the
Yeah.
villain, like, throughout this movie.
She's changed, man. She's you can't trust her. And then there's another scene I want to bring up here when they show down him and the samurai. He breaks his sword. I never seen that. You know his cane
Oh,
sword.
yeah.
He slices it in half. And I was like, wow, man, that's awesome. How does he recover from that? But then, as you see in the film, he has his cane again. So I guess he got a new one. I don't know.
It's a regenerating cane sword.
Yeah, I don't know. It grows back. I don't know.
It's like in Tetsuro the Iron Man when, oh no, Tokyo Gold Police. It's a disease where when you lose flesh, like metal comes back,
Hmm.
and like guns are made. There's someone who, just to go off track here because I love Tokyo Gold Police,
Oh,
and
no
Atomiya just came in.
problem.
But in the intro fight scene of that movie, we have a badass female cop who cuts herself to get adrenaline through her blood, because that's how
Hmm.
like the weird like magic system works. If this was a book series, she cuts. She's like a samurai cop, basically. Cuts off the arms of somebody, but because they have this special disease, chainsaws grow as his arms, and he like fights with the woman. Maybe it's something like that. Every time it gets cut, it like grows back.
That's cool, man. I
It's a
like stuff
very
like that.
forced, whatever connection.
And not to bring up the showdown again, but after he breaks his sword, you see him like pretty much on his knees, Ichi, and you see this guy gonna pretty much kill him. You're like, it's over. And he goes down to slice him, and Ichi's already got him stabbed. And it's like he had a back knife in his cane, and it goes right
Yeah.
in his gut, man. I said, wow, bro. I was like, I said, Ichi's done in my mind. Ichi's done. But you look and you just see him, and you're like, he did something. I look and there's a little blade inside him that he had on the other side. I was like, wow, that's real creative.
So that's movie 4. Oh, we gotta mention the awesome end when
Yeah,
the mom is like, "That was your money you gave me, right? Not my son's." And he's like, "I'll see you now." Just leaves. And
yeah,
she's like,
like nothing.
she's like, "I wish you were my son instead." And he's like, "No, you don't." You know, does the the thing he says
Yeah,
every end of the movie, and he walks away.
these endings are real reminiscent of like westerns to
Oh
me.
yeah,
Like,
they are definitely. I think I stated that in the first episode how
yeah, we
the
talked. Yeah,
producers like wanted basically easy money makers that they could just keep making the same movie, but like switch it up a bit, and like it worked.
yeah. And I gotta ask you a question. Do you think Otane set him up that she had evil intentions
I think
in this film?
so. I think
Yeah,
so.
because I never could like really guess that.
Because I kind of mentioned it. I was kind of like, she's kind of a villain, like for the most part throughout this movie. And it's like at the end, she's like, "Oh, I love you. Don't die. Don't fight him."
Mhm.
I think she was just
Was it?
trying to save her conscience by
It was
doing
part
that.
of her her tricking him pretty much, something like that.
shall we move on?
We shall move on. Yes.
The next movie is called Zatoichi on the Road. We had a difficult time figuring out the title for this movie because I was like, I just like had it. Like I forgot to add it to my notes. But the one notable cast member is the female lead, Shiho Fujimura. She also is in movie 15 called Zatoichi's Cane Sword. Again, these titles can be switched any which way, and it'll be okay. But she's also, like, 40 years later, appeared in the Shinya Tsukamoto film Gemini, which is not in the box set. I rented it from Netflix, and it was boring. It was not a good movie, so I'm happy it wasn't in the box set. But that's like the other notable movie she's in. Like 30, 40 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I have for cast. There's not many new people here.
I know Gemini got released by Mondo Macabro.
Oh, yeah?
But I haven't picked that up.
Well, don't. It's like 4 or 5 out of 10 for me.
Interesting to know.
But I have the note starting that he's on the way to Doyama, but I feel like there was a scene before that, like the intro scene. What was the intro scene?
I have it starting with a dice game.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I have.
They have like 4 different like big moments in like half a second to remind you he's awesome. They have the dice game. They have him cutting candles. They have him fighting in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And like something else. A badass line, I think. And they're like, intro credits, come on.
He's like, I love the dark. It suits me. Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And he fights in the dark. And I was like, wow, okay. If you haven't seen any of the other movies, this is a great summation of his character.
Mm-hmm. And you could picture Dark's like being blind. So it's like his home field.
Yeah, they like turned off any light source in that scene, so it is.
Yeah,
you just see his face, I think.
Yeah, they were. What I have next on the list is I think I skipped a little bit. So if you have anything else to say on that intro, go ahead and do it.
I forgot it. I didn't know what it was. That's why I had to ask.
Yeah, I have. He takes out 3 village men with his sword skill.
Yeah, I have that because he's like being led away by like a pretty sketchy guy who ends up not being sketchy at all, which I was surprised about.
Yeah, because there's a guy on the floor, huh? That's where this starts, the story. There's a man on the floor dying.
I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. Yeah, you did skip something.
Did I skip too far there?
Yeah,
okay.
That's the next bullet point. On mine, at least.
He takes out 3 guys with a quick, just like rapid lightning, fast.
Yeah.
And then the other guy runs away.
Yeah, that's the next part. So the first one is he's like drinking tea and eating rice. And on the way to Doyama, because some guy is like, hey, come with me. My boss wants to meet you. And he's like, can I just eat? And he's like, okay, fine. And they finally leave. And they're on the way. And a couple of people fight him. Like, they just ambush him. And kill his guide. And the husband of Hisa, who is the woman who watches the fight. And they part ways. And then he's like walking away from that on the way to the next town, I guess. And that's when he encounters a group of samurai who is looking for a woman. And he's like, no, I haven't seen or, heard any woman near me. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. And then she finds the woman and the man who is like about to die. Well, he finds the man and he's like, find Mitsu. Like, find her. She must be saved. Get her to Edo. And he finds her, and she has a sad moment with the old man. And that's when the 3 people come up. And he kills them. Like, because they're like, oh, check this house. Kills one of them. And he's like, hey, what's wrong? He walks up, kills him. And the next one is like, oh. And he's like hiding behind the wall. and because there's a crack in the like wall, he like stabs him through the crack and
That was
into his
awesome.
back. And I was like, oh, and the guy falls and you see the sword and it slowly goes back in. That was
One of
so
my
cool.
favorite parts. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, it
He
was
stabs
really
him through
good.
the door, and then there's your introduction to Amitsu. I hope I said her name right. I
Yep.
slaughtered her name,
You
but
said it.
he's just like, because Ichi's pretty much a man of his word. So once he heard that, he's like, you know what, I'll protect her by any means necessary.
And she doesn't
And
immediately start talking to him either, which is
he has to
interesting.
find her. He has to find her, right? Like
Yeah,
she's some,
she's like
yeah.
hiding in the shed or whatever.
But yeah, that's what I got on my notes. The same as you.
Yeah, they're looking all over the place, I think. They go to an inn, and Ichi is like, "Oh, I'm low on cash. Let me go find someone to massage." And they do, and the innkeeper's wife immediately walks in to with Mitsu because Zatoichi is like, "Don't go anywhere. Don't leave this room. Like, scream if you like are forced to." And the woman is like, "Hey, come with me. Zatoichi's an evil man. You must run away with me." And she's like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
I can't be with Zatoichi." So she runs away, and Zatoichi's pissed. And I think this is the scene where he is just like messing up this guy's like muscles during the massage.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like reaching for a sword, and he's like, "Oh, you're trembling," and he like kicks
That's
the
that's
sword
that's
away.
crazy. That scene is crazy because that's his senses again. Because he walks into the room to massage him, and he's like, "Is it you or your wife that's getting him a
Yeah,
massage?" That's and like they're like, they look at him like, "How the heck did you know my wife was in here?"
yeah, because she's like hiding on the side, like
Hmm.
out of the way.
I thought that was a an excellent scene for his senses, like to for you to be blown away by them because he right away knows his area. He's like I said, he's 3 steps. Well, I should say steps ahead of everyone, and it shows there.
But it's funny because I think this is the scene where he's like just doing what he did to the last guy with his leg, just like targeting every pressure point, and the guy's like freaking out, like screaming, just like in pain. And he's like, "Okay, now give me a shit ton of money." He's like, "What? Are you crazy?" And he like hits him again with like a pressure point. You're like, "Fine, I'll give it to you," or whatever.
And then
And yeah.
you get the famous "you blind bastard."
But it's funny because they're buying time to try and get Mitsu away. The wife is trying to do that. And so they do it, and immediately he's just like, "What the fuck?" Uh, hires a like a carrier to like carry her away
Hmm.
or whatever. And find Zatoichi finds the wife and like bullies her and like corners her, and is like, "Where is she?" Like all this stuff. And
And then
huh?
yeah, then he goes to the boss after that, right?
I believe so. Yeah, my
I
notes are a
think
little
so.
fuzzy here. Just copy paste.
And he like takes those guys out with his elbows, squack quack. And he has that boss cornered. Or did I jump ahead there?
I think that is it. I can barely remember.
Mhm.
I just remember he was like pushing, like kicking the carts and like blocking her way, the wife.
Yeah,
And it was like right after
and
that
there's
he
a
finds
funny
out she's
part
a
in this where
virgin.
I also wanted to bring up when he's eating a fruit, his favorite fruit, and it's like
The
rotted, and he
persimmon.
spits it out. He's like, yeah, yeah. He's like, I've never tasted some stuff of such disgrace, or and he's just going off, and I'm laughing out loud, and she's looking at him like, man, it's just a fruit,
And he's like
but it's like his
dropping
favorite
it
fruit.
all over himself.
Yeah, all over himself, and he's this is rotted. This is a rotted disgrace. I don't know what he says, but
He was like, "This is the most sour persimmon I've ever had."
It's like when you get your order at a restaurant and they pretty much fuck it up, so you're like pissed. That's him.
But he finds her. He finds Mitsu, and she's like, "I didn't
Pressure
trust
points.
you."
Oh no. Yeah, she's like, you never leave my side or whatever.
I mean, duh. He has to look after her. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, anyone in his shoes would be pissed off. Oh, and it's funny too. Like I was saying, when he goes to the bosses and like he takes out his guards, he has him hostage in the corner, and he's like, "I want the girl, and I want some tea."
I've come here to chew bubblegum
Like,
and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
yeah, it's that type of scene right there.
So badass and hilarious.
He's like, I don't only want the girl, I want some tea too. We'll get it for you. What? That's what I got on my notes there for that part.
Yeah, she apologizes and is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he's just like pissed off. You know, eventually, uh, forgives her. And the next day, they are on the road, and they like stop at a lake, which is a badass scene, by the way. And a couple samurai are like looking for them, and they're just eating lunch, whatever. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy. My life has been so hard." And he has like rice on his face, and she's like reaching his hand up to like wipe it away. And he like throws her aside. He's like, "Stand still." And then like he slowly brings his knife out, and like because there's bushes around them on the beach or whatever by the lake.
Yeah.
And he just like kills 3 people in like half a second. And she's like, "What the fuck? How'd you know that?"
He doesn't even get up. He's sitting down while he kills him.
Yeah, and she's like hanging on to him. So it's like, again, he's a badass.
He didn't even sense the rice on his cheek, but he sensed the villains coming.
Maybe that was a trick to have her brush his neck.
Oh
cheek.
yeah,
Oh.
could be, could be.
He's fine. Now that he agreed to marriage, touching his face is nothing.
Yeah. He's like, that's how we're gonna get to know each other. Let's touch each other's face.
She asked him to come with her to meet her family, which I don't even know if they do. I can't even remember.
I don't think it ever explains that. I don't think it ever explains that.
Oh, she gets kidnapped like soon after. That's why we don't meet them, I guess. And like everyone's trying to ransom her, and Ichi is like, "Why are you doing this? She did nothing."
Yeah, and it brings me back to that first part where they're using him. They're just using him for their benefit, both sides, to like go to war.
Yeah, this movie really reminded me of Yoshimbo, which is that movie where he kills everyone and has 2 gangs fight each other. And they
I've
keep
never
trying
seen
to
that
hire him. Oh, it's awesome. It's Kurosawa. I'm waiting for a Blu-ray upgrade of that $600 DVD set.
Oh man. But yeah, they kind of trick him to joining the other side with this. That's why they take her or something like that, to join the other enemies, because they know how much of a threat Ichi is.
Yeah, because I remember they were like settling the terms, and Mitsu is there and is like yelling for him. And he's like, "Wait, you brought her into this?" And he's like, "Never mind, here's your money," and just like throws it back at them. And just walks at them and is like, "Hey, she's with me." And they're like,
Yeah.
like, you're not on anyone's side right now.
He's all about the money and, protecting her. Well, protecting her more than the money.
Yeah. And this is the scene that I was talking about, how it's like a total contrast to early like films with him. like one, two, and three, because in this one he kills like 40 people. He just
Oh yeah.
kills like constantly in this end battle scene. And like he killed two people in the beginning of movie two, and he cried. It's like, and now
Yeah.
he's just killing everyone, like on both sides of the
Both sides,
games.
yeah.
Yeah. But the wife and Mitsu run away. I don't think they see him again.
Uh, Another thing I wanted to bring up is he's like in a area like a back area, and he's with the leaders of the first gang, and then he's with the ones that tricked him, and he's all you guys are the worst of scum. I don't know what he says, but he says that he's pretty much gonna take them out, and then he tells the guy that tricked him is you're gonna have another death too, and it's coming to you sooner than you think.
Oh yeah, he has that badass line.
Yeah, and I'm like, whoa, man, he means business. That's what I said right away.
That's what's crazy is that like we're getting to the part now of the series, and it's great that this is the last movie of the segment because after this he's like crazy, like really violent. And on the disc, the final movie on the disc is Zatoichi and the Chest of Gold. That
Mm-hmm.
movie is awesome. I remember that one.
Wow.
So I don't know what's next after that. I should probably grab my box set. I'm gonna do that real quick. So yeah, number 6 is Zatoichi and the Chest of Gold, because we're 6 through 9, I believe.
Yeah.
And then number 7 is Zatoichi's Flashing Sword. The next one, number 8, is Fight Zatoichi Fight, which is a fun one. And then the final one is 9, Adventures of Zatoichi. So I guess that's
We might get Zatoichi as Indiana Jones. You never know.
yeah, I didn't mention that because I didn't want to spoil that he puts on a hat and he has a thing
Zatoichi in the Lost Ark.
and the crystal skull.
Crystal Skull. No, these have been entertaining films, man.
Yeah,
Looking forward to them.
this has been really good. I don't know if you had any other thoughts on these overall. Any burnout?
That's. Mm, I just have one more on the final battle. Was when he's fighting them, they like trap him in wagons, and he's still
Oh
killing the
yeah,
guys. Even though he's trapped in the wagons, he's still slicing them. I just thought that was wicked.
I really like the editing in that scene. I'm probably the only one who like cares about that. No one else does, but it's really good
Yeah.
editing because it's like 2 people per cut pushing it, and the camera is like up there, and it's really fast paced. Like 3 cuts, like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, it's
And
real
it's like
quick.
it's awesome.
I thought that was cool, but that's pretty much all I got.
Well, great. Do we want to just chat about the series as a whole so far? What you think?
Yeah, that's fine.
What do you think?
Not a word.
Any burnout?
I know you guys said that the series, like you told me that the series is real repetitive, and you'll you gotta keep a level mind so you don't get burnt out. But like all I gotta say through the first 5 films is I'm not burnt out. I'm enjoying every one for different reasons, but not saying it's not gonna get like that. But right now I'm good.
Yeah, because did you watch any like back to back like one night, or was it like one like a night?
It was one a night.
Okay, that probably helps a lot because I did 2 a night
Mhm.
last night with 3 and 4, and 4 got like. So I think I'm gonna make more of an effort this next segment and for the rest to do 1 a night.
I'd probably be better. Well, I don't know. I'm not saying I won't watch back to back, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, because the burnout is real. I know on Reddit when I talk to people about the series, there was a point where I did give ratings on each movie as I went through my first time, way back on my personal Reddit account. And that used to be referenced a lot, like shockingly. anytime someone asks about the set, they'd be like, "Oh, go check out this thread where they rank every movie and talk about the burnout and all that." And a lot of people say from 12 to 18 roughly is not the slog. It's not.
Uh-huh.
It like depends on you, like how fast you're watching it, how many you're watching at a time, all that. So
Well, I'm not there yet, but
I think it
so
helps that
far,
we're talking together about these.
yeah, it definitely brings more excitement to it.
But let me look at the schedule. I don't have that up. I should have had it up. So just to make sure that I have it right, schedule. There's not much I have to edit, which is so awesome. I love it when that happens.
No, that's good because sometimes I think I got a few words stuck there.
That's fine. I'll leave that.
Yeah,
I do that too.
yeah,
But we're at exactly an hour and a half, which is like so awesome. I thought because
no,
our last episode was an hour and a half, that was one movie, and I was like, oh no, is it going to be 4 hours long or 5
yeah,
hours? Whatever 1.5 times 4 is. But the next one, the next part we're doing is part 3. We'll be about halfway after that. Ooh. Kind of.
flying by.
Yeah, so that one is 6 through 9. 69. But I thought about doing 6 through 10, and we discussed this already, but just to kind of get it out there. I thought about
Yeah.
it. It's too much, because even for this part, I struggled getting it all
Yeah.
on time. And you watched it like right before
And
recording, so
you were earlier, and then I mean you were struggling early, and then me late, so like it switched.
yeah, because I remember I spent like a month on the notes, which ended up being not much, because we
Yeah,
had exactly the same notes. But I just
we all,
remember like I also wanted to do suggested films, which is like not at all. I think if someone really wanted, like, this would be a great like film course, like the films
yeah.
of Zatoichi. And with my suggested films, it'd be like films you watch outside of class. It's like,
Yeah.
but the only difference is I don't have like readings or anything. Maybe the booklet, you can read that. There is a really good essay about the series as a whole. Full spoilers though, unfortunately, because they do say like, oh yeah, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies, and like all this stuff.
Can I do that after the series? Cause
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
that's up to you.
Because I don't want no spoilers. Well, me personally.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all the same formula, but
Well,
yeah.
that does sound interesting.
Well, I think we're at the end here. It's much shorter than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
I was ready for a 3-hour episode, which I did like earlier this week, which was
I
awful.
was too.
Oh yeah, you were on that thing. I knew you watched that. No, you're on this Sunday, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the midnight hour with Hobbs Horror this Sunday.
Okay, great. Well, everyone go watch that, and then on Sunday I'll probably pop in. I'm not going out of town anymore,
Oh, you're
unfortunately.
not? Oh,
Yeah, so
I know you said you were going out of town for the weekend. So
yeah, so I'm gonna try and knock out the next segment. We're gonna have this episode come out next Thursday. I'm keeping with the Thursday. The last episode did really well, shockingly. Had a lot of fun with this. Thank you again for joining.
thank you for having me, Christian. This has been a blast.